Scary's back. The long Wisconsin Badger fandom nightmare of not having a new Scary Alvarez show for almost a week. That's in the review now, guys. The dawn is here. So naturally, I want to talk about some cool stuff. And by cool stuff, I mean 2025 football season for the Wisconsin Badgers. I've been over already just how daunting that schedule is. Several of my podcasting brethren in the Wisconsin Badger community have taken this one on as well. I'd imagine it's going to remain an issue for quite a while. Joel Klatt, college football broadcaster, knows a thing or two about the game. Usually a pretty reasonable mind when it comes to college football issues. Isn't a real clickbaity type. Came out with this preseason. I don't know if he actually used the words way too early. I think it was a post-spring practice top 25. And, well, the news hasn't gotten any better from where he's sitting for the Wisconsin Badgers. I counted 4 of his top 10 on Wisconsin's schedule and 7 of his top 23 on Wisconsin's schedule. Headlined by Ohio State at 3 and at Oregon at 4. I think we had the Bama coming in at 9. Illinois a little higher than we've seen them other places at 10. And it goes from there. I think Iowa's probably the lowest of them at 23. So, yeah. Kind of confirming what we had already suspected. Not that spring practice was going to go weird for all those teams and somehow Wisconsin was going to end up with an easy schedule. That was never going to happen. But it's a brutal one, guys. So when we saw things about a month and a half to 2 months ago, I think it was some ESPN reporter or satellite organization had the top 10 most difficult schedules in college football for top 25 for 2025, and 9 SEC teams and Wisconsin coming at number 4 in that one. So the issue has now been defined. Wisconsin has, in all likelihood, an absolutely horrific, stupefyingly difficult schedule coming up this fall. Okay, that's not great, guys, but gonna play the games anyway. And if I know my fellow Wisconsin fans, like I think I know my fellow Wisconsin fans, they may get a little grace for that, but you're not going to Luke Fickell's not going to get much quarter if he doesn't do well this season. The excuse that the schedule was hard, I don't think that's going to hold much water, guys. I'm not saying that's my personal feeling, because I think there's some nuance there, but generally speaking, if you come in and you have a top 5 most difficult schedule and you lay a bunch of eggs and you get blown off the field and you limp into 4 wins, that's going to be a freaking disaster. And no one's going to go, well, Joel Klatt had 7 of those teams in his top 23 preseason, so I suspect the first AP poll will reflect that, something similar. No one's gonna care, guys. It's going to be a disaster of a season if that happens. So my hope, and I suspect this to be the case, is all those kids and all those coaches over there at Camp Randall Stadium on 1440 Monroe Street have discussed this already. They know they have a horrible schedule coming up. And I can almost guarantee you that the messaging inside that locker room is, we don't give a flying F what the schedule is going to look like. You go and play the games. There's not been one coach or one leader on that team who said, guys, schedule's kind of rough, so we have some margin this year. No worries. Just go in there and do your best. We'll be okay. The message is, with almost 100% certainty, go win the games in front of you. Get better every week. Stay healthy. Cut down on mistakes. Play our system the way we can play it. And be the hardest working team on the field. And in the first 2 years of the Finkel tenure, lining up those blocks has been very hard most weeks. So we're going to have a schedule that's incredibly daunting, a team that's going to be expected to have a good season one way or the other. I know me saying that does not think for 1 second that anyone listening to this podcast is not well aware that the schedule is tough and doesn't have a little bit of grace for the team having to face that schedule. It's horrible. We know it. I'm just speaking generally. At the end of the season, when they give you your record and you either get a bowl game or don't get a bowl game, there isn't a big asterisk that says, "Boy, they had a tough schedule." Really, ultimately, you can help explain things with it, but no one cares at the end of the day. You got to win. So, as I had said about a month ago when I did the, kind of which is the biggest win or biggest potential win on Wisconsin's schedule, which many of you recall, I came up with Ohio State would be the biggest one. I'm kind of in a similar mindset here where I'm going to look at what looks like a good season for Wisconsin. What is an acceptable season? I'm going to lock it down a little bit with win numbers, but it's very hard to do it that way. I can tell you what is a successful season. If Wisconsin wins 7 or more games with this schedule, everything will take care of itself. That's going to have been a good season. I'm just telling you. You may not like it. You may not like the prospect of losing 4 or 5 games. But if this team could do it, win 7, it's going to be a good season, especially with a much more reasonable schedule coming in 26. Okay. Accordingly, if Wisconsin comes out and wins 3 games, finishes 3-9, it's not going to be a successful season. Even if they had a couple close games in there, even if they're with Ohio State until the last quarter, and maybe you hang with Bama till quarter 3. If you only end up with 3 wins, that means there are several other games in that schedule that were winnable games against non-elite teams that you didn't take care of. That's just a fact. So if you were losing 9 games and winning 3, that means in weeks where you were playing Illinois, Minnesota, Maryland, Washington, Indiana, Miami of Ohio, you're coming out of that winning like less than half of those. It's cooked. I don't think this is the way it's going to be, guys. I'm just telling you, there are parameters here where it's going to be good or it's going to be bad based on a number. I don't think it's going to be that, though, in the final analysis. I think the win total is going to be probably somewhere between 4 and 7, in all likelihood. And then you're going to have to go to the eye test. How did the team look? How did the team compete? Did they give up? Did they fight when they're playing teams with better players? When they're playing teams with 12 5-star recruits on them, like Ohio State? How'd they look? They belong in the same field? They compete hard? Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota. Those 3 teams, though, I think are going to be the microcosm for the season. I'm not saying other games don't matter. I'm telling you, those are the 3 games that are going to look like the rest of the season. I feel very confident in this. So if you play Illinois and Iowa and beat those teams in Camp Randall and go up to Minnesota and take that ridiculous Russian mobster smile off a PJ Flex grin, it's going to have been a great season, guys. No matter what happened in Tuscaloosa or Eugene or Ann Arbor, I can almost assure you that things will be okay heading into 2026 if you can win games like that. Winning games like that don't mean you're going to be a 9-win team or a 10-win team. But they sure as hell mean you're not going to be a 3-win team. They're evidence that you have done the analysis, recalibrated, reloaded your roster, tinkered with your schemes, looking at the offensive coordinator, for example, and said, 2024 was not good enough, damn it. That's never happening again to the University of Wisconsin. We're going to go in and change things a little bit, come in with more fight and take care of business, and put the Big Ten on notice that Wisconsin is not a laughing stock, an afterthought, which is, I'm telling you guys, you don't like to hear this. But coming into this season, Wisconsin football is an afterthought. Whether they're a laughing stock, that's probably a little harsh. I think there are some people ready to put us in that bin, like some of those Nebraska teams in the 2010s into before Rule got hired. People love to see people fail, teams fail. There'll be people like the Ewoks at the end of Return of the Jedi up in Minneapolis if Wisconsin ends up sucking. Okay, not just because that would probably be a 4th time in 5 years that they got the axe. It's just fun to see Wisconsin suck when you've been steady for so long. Anyway, I'd like to hear what everyone thinks. Remember to like and subscribe. You'll scare Alvarez here. But I think to kind of summarize things, it's going to be between 4 and 7 wins. If something goes really wrong or incredibly right. And it's going to be Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois. Those are going to be the under the microscope microcosm games. How Wisconsin looks, competes, and the success they have in those games is going to be everything. Drop me a comment. Do you agree with me? Drop me a comment if you don't.